Welcome to Sara Gonzales Unfiltered. Happy Monday. If you guys are watching on YouTube, you need to check to make sure you're subscribed. You may say to yourself, I already subscribed, but listen, the overlords over there, they're engaging in some funny business. All right. So make sure that you are still subscribed if you have already subscribed, and let us know in the comments what you think about today's discussion. Make sure to hit the like button because, that's the overlords don't love us. So that just in and of itself will help us tremendously. We appreciate that. So I saw a tweet from my friend, Brandon Herrera, who, of course, ran a very great campaign against Representative Tony Gonzalez here in the state of Texas and was just barely unsuccessable in that endeavor. But he tweeted out, Stephen, did you see this? He tweeted out over the weekend. He was like, we're going to get tired of all the winning. And I was like, are you kidding me? I am not tired of all the winning. I am never going to be tired of all the winning. This has been the most amazing, 5-6 days since post-election, possibly in history. I don't know. I'm not a historian. As a matter of fact, those of you who are watching, if you are a historian, can you tell me in the comments, has there ever been such a dramatic global shift before a president even takes office after he's been elected? Look at Bitcoin. What is it up to now, Stephen?
It's like 85,000 or something like that.
That's insane. He's not even inaugurated yet. He's not even in office yet. All of these shifts just like that so quickly. I am not tired of the winning, Brandon. I will never be tired of the winning. Okay. And as we are looking at all of these, I don't know if I call them accomplishments. I don't know what I call them, but look at how much has happened just since it was announced. He's coming. He's coming in January. Get ready. I was going to say something inappropriate. Get ready. All right. Because he's coming. He's coming back, baby. So all the illegal immigrants that were starting their caravan through Mexico was like, nope, sorry, gotta go. The tough guy's back, so you gotta go. That's dissolved. Migrant caravan at the border, gone. Eric Adams ended vouchers for illegals. Sorry, you can't stay there. Just after a phone call with Donald Trump. They didn't say what they talked about. I think you can see what they talked about. How about globally? Hamas, within 24, 48 hours, they were like, we probably need a ceasefire with Israel. We don't want the heat that Donald Trump is packing. Qatar kicked out Hamas leaders. All right. Putin, he's like, okay, well, we should probably talk about how to strengthen our relations with the United States and what the end of the Ukraine war looks like. He's ready to sell oil in US dollars. The European Union was like, we will buy United States gas. We won't have to buy Russian gas anymore. This is crazy, you guys. I am not tired of the winning. China, they want to strengthen their relations with us all of a sudden. I am not tired of the freaking winning. We have waited 4 grueling, terrible years, just suffering disastrous losses, one after the other after the other. You have the disgusting withdrawal in Afghanistan. The people who died. You had all these people coming in through the southern border. You have inflation. You have supply chain issues while Pete Buttigieg is chest feeding his freaking kid on paternity leave. We had all of these just crisis after crisis after crisis. I feel like I aged 84 freaking years like the woman on the Titanic. And now there's so much daylight, guys. It's just sunlight everywhere. All right. So things are getting better globally. Things are getting better for the country. You've got Donald Trump announcing epic picks. He's just announced that he wants Lee Zeldin to run the EPA. He announced his plan to get rid of the Department of Education. Your lips to God's ears, Mr. President. He's announced a plan to reform the indoctrination camps known as higher education in this country. He's announced that Elise Stefanik, he wants to be the United Nations ambassador. He's announced Stephen Miller, he wants to be deputy chief of staff for his policies. Who Stephen Miller is like a hardliner on illegal immigration. And then, of course, the icing on the freaking cake, he announced that he wants Tom Homan to join the administration as the border czar. He said this on Truth Social. I'm pleased to announce that former ICE director and stalwart on border control Tom Homan will be joining the Trump administration in charge of our nation's borders. He puts in parentheses, of course, the border czar, including but not limited to the southern border, the northern border, all maritime and aviation security. He talks about knowing Tom for a very long time, and let me tell you, he's the guy for the job. He said, likewise, Tom Homan will be in charge of all deportation of illegal aliens back to their country of origin. Congratulations to Tom. I have no doubt he will do a fantastic and long awaited for job. Now, Tom Homan, of course, he just mentions Tom Homan. He was already in charge of ICE under Donald Trump. He did a tremendous job. He takes this very seriously, has dedicated many years of his life to public service. And he was, of course, recently at the Republican National Convention where he made a speech. And here's a little bit of what he had to say.
They stopped the border wall. They canceled Remain in Mexico. They reinstated catch and release. They proposed amnesty for millions, along with free health care. And now we have a record illegal migration, a record number of women and children being sex trafficked, a record number of Americans dying from fentanyl, a record number of known and suspected terrorists sneaking across our border. And here's what you need to know. This isn't mismanagement. This isn't incompetence. This is by design, and it's a choice. It's national suicide. I got a message. As a guy who spent 34 years deporting illegal aliens, I got a message to the millions of illegal aliens that Joe Biden's releasing our country in violation of federal law. You better start packing now.
Pack your shit.
You're damn right.
You're getting out.
Because you're going home.
Bye-bye.
I got another message. Another message to the criminal cartels in Mexico. You smuggled enough fentanyl across this country to kill 148,000 young Americans. You have killed more Americans than every terrorist organization in the world combined. And that's when President Trump gets back in office. He's going to designate you a terrorist organization, and he's going to wipe you off the face of the earth. You're done.
Let's
You're
freaking
done.
go. Let's go, America. This is what making America great again looks like, guys. Okay. And I just would like to point out that in the first 3 months of Tom Homan, under Donald Trump's first term, ICE arrested 41,000 illegal immigrants, which, as it turns out, is not only a 38% increase compared to the previous year under Obama, it's also 150% more arrests than under Joe Biden's first 3 months. Yeah. So get ready, guys. All right. So I want to play a little bit more of Tom Homan. He's like one of the most epic individuals. He does not care. He just says the truth. Okay. And I want to play, let me play Tom Homan in a panel discussion with the Heritage Foundation talking about, some of the failures of the Biden-Harris administration and how he wants to secure the border. Watch.
I mentioned earlier about 31% of women admitted to being sexually assaulted making this journey. We handed this administration the most secure border in my lifetime, and they unsecured it on purpose.
Yes, they did.
What's that result in? When President Trump had illegal immigration at a 45-year low, illegal immigration was down 83% to 90%, depending on what time frame you looked at. When illegal immigration was down 83%, when 83% less people were coming, how many women did get raped? How many children didn't drown in the river? Mm-hmm. How many Americans didn't die of fentanyl overdoses because the border was secure? How many known suspected terrorists didn't make in the country?
Open borders is not compassionate.
Right? Under Joe Biden, we got over 1,700 migrants that died in U.S. soil, a record. 148,000 overdose deaths of fentanyl, a record. 358 people on terrorist watch lists on the southern border, a record. Trump, 11 in 4 years. So I am angry. While you're sitting here today, women are being raped on the southern border because the border is open. The cartels are taking advantage. A child will be sexually assaulted today on the southern border.
Is that compassion?
Someone's going to die today on the southern border, most likely a woman or child.
Is that compassionate?
That's what's happening right now while we sit here, because this administration refuses to secure the border.
And that is what's so great about Tom Homan and the message that he delivers, because it's something that we have been trying to preach on my show, but I think in conservative media for a very long time, which is they want to try to paint themselves as the compassionate party by saying, but these people, they're just here for a better life. We have to let them in. No, you are encouraging people to take a dangerous journey that could result in death. And if it doesn't result in death, if you're a child or a woman, you're lucky if you don't get raped multiple times. There are literal rape trees as you make the journey. And there are people who are profiting off of this. The coyotes, the cartels, they're profiting off of human trafficking. They're profiting off of these people dying. So, no, you don't get to paint yourselves as a compassionate party if you tell people across the country, across the world, don't come. It's a dangerous journey and you will not be let in. You prevent so many of those deaths. You prevent so many of those rapes. You prevent children from dying by having strong border security and strong border policy and strong border messaging. Now, of course, the left constantly tries to, undermine the messaging. They constantly try to make you say, you're a meanie. You must be a meanie if you want to kick people out. Well, Tom Homan ain't having none of that shit. I want to remind you of his 2019 interaction with AOC compared to, let's see, also what he said recently on 60 Minutes, which was just glorious. Watch.
Mr. Homan, your name is on this. Is this correct?
Yes, I signed that memo.
So you are the author of the family separation policy.
I am not the author of this memo.
You're not the author, but you signed the memo.
Yes, a zero tolerance memo.
So you provided the official recommendation to Secretary Nielsen on for the United States to pursue family separation.
I gave Secretary Nielsen numerous recommendations on how to secure the border and save lives.
But it says here that you gave her numerous options, but the recommendation was option 3, family separation.
What I'm saying, this is not the only paper where we've given the Secretary numerous options to secure the border and save lives.
And so the recommendation of the many that you recommended family separation.
I recommended zero tolerance.
Which includes family separation.
The same as is with every U.S. citizen parent gets arrested when they're with a child.
There you go. You get to bring your children to jail here in this country?
Zero tolerance was interpreted as the policy that separated children from their
If I get arrested for DUI and I have a young child in the car, I'm going to be separated. When I was a police officer in New York and I arrested a father for domestic violence, I separated that father from his family.
Mr. Homan, with all due respect, legal asylees are not charged with any crime.
Oh my God, here we go.
When you're into the country illegally, it's violation 8 United States Code 1325.
Seeking asylum is legal.
If you want to seek asylum, you go through the port of entry, do it the legal way. The Attorney General of the United States has made that clear.
Okay.
We have seen one estimate that says it would cost $88 billion to deport 1 million people
Here it
a
is.
year.
I don't know if that's accurate or not.
Is that what American taxpayers should expect?
What price do you put on national security? Is that worth it?
Is there a way to carry out mass deportation without separating families?
Of course there is. Families can be deported together.
That is the most epic response. Listen, this is what the left does. They try to hang it on our necks, right? Joe Biden brought millions upon 20 million, I think it is. Okay. But if you believe the conservative estimates, 12 million. So at least tens of millions of people who shouldn't be here. He welcomed them in. And now the people who are doing the heavy lifting part of getting them the hell out, now you're going to try to make them feel bad because it costs money to get them out. Now, by the way, that estimate was way off. I don't believe that it's actually going to take that much money to do. But even if it were, whose fault is that, ma'am? Whose fault is that? Is it Tom Homan's fault? Because he's a big meanie who's going to send people back home? Is it Donald Trump's fault because he's a big meanie who's going to send people back home? Or is it Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's fault for bringing them in intentionally? I mean, it's not, listen, You are misplacing your blame, ma'am. Go talk to AOC and her friend border czar Kamala and all of the left who wants to pretend like it's really mean to keep our borders secure. Now, the big boys, the adults, are back in the White House come January. Okay? The big boys are going to put on their big boy pants and they're going to go into the White House and they're going to do what needs to be done to save this country. No thanks to you. You're welcome. And you know what, Stephen? I don't think we're even going to get a thank you.
No.
I don't think we're even going to get a thank you.
I think you take the Steve policy. We'll still keep him safe.
You're still going to be safer than you were under Joe Biden. Okay, we'll let you have that. We're still going to let you engage in tax cuts. All right. We're still going to let you enjoy all of these economic policies. You're still going to be allowed to participate. But a thank you sure would be nice. I don't think we're going to get one. All right. We've got more to come. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Preborn. So listen, I love working with Preborn because Preborn is fighting for babies' lives. And it's hard to think of a ministry that is more noble than fighting for babies' lives. The way that they're doing that is that they have these network of clinics positioned in the highest abortion areas. Oftentimes, they're like right across the street from Planned Parenthoods. And they're fighting for mothers who are deciding between life and death for their unborn children. So instead of going into a Planned Parenthood where they're going to be sold a bunch of lives, they walk into a preborn clinic. And Preborn does something very simple. They introduce a mother to her child on a free ultrasound. And when they do that, they are doubling the chances that the mother is going to choose life for her child. You guys know this if you're parents. You hear the heartbeat, you see the baby on the ultrasound, it's life-changing, all right? And then on top of that, as much as the left likes to say, oh, you don't care about babies after they're born. Well, actually, Preborn does because they are giving additional assistance to these moms for up to 2 years of that baby's life, all right? Please, please, please help us save the babies. $28 is the cost of an ultrasound, and just that $28 can mean the difference between life and death of a baby. How many babies can you save? Donate securely. We're asking for your tax-deductible donations, end-of-year tax-deductible donations. I cannot think of a more worthy cause over at preborn.com/Sarah. That is preborn.com/Sarah. Those of you who are subscribers for certain have probably followed Steve Baker, our very own Steve Baker's saga regarding January 6, 2021, where he, as an independent journalist, followed where the crowd went on January 6th, which meant he followed them as they went to the Capitol. He followed them inside the Capitol. There's video footage of him doing dastardly things like taking notes on what's going on his phone. I mean, totally nonviolent, nothing, no property damage from him, nothing. And yet he is one of many who has lawfare waged against him. Well, I believe we have a little bit of an update coming up, and I'd like to welcome to the program Steve Baker himself, our Blaze Media investigative journalist, to tell us the latest. Steve, I wish that you were in studio. I hate that you are, I assume, very close to the swamp.
I'm very close. I'm actually at the Air Force Museum. I've got the Arlington Cemetery right here to my left. I've got the Air Force Memorial in front of me. I've got the Pentagon right over here. So, yeah, I'm just outside of the swamp.
Yeah, I bet you can smell it from that distance. So, Steve,
Yeah.
so tell me what's going on? You have a hearing tomorrow in the morning?
I do. It's not a hearing. It is actually my scheduled trial date. Begins at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning.
Okay.
There's a lot going on right now related to that. I had my pretrial hearing was last Wednesday. It was, to put it bluntly, it was brutal. They denied all of our motions that we had pending at the time. The judge in this case, Judge Christopher Cooper, has never seen our way on any motions that we filed throughout this last 9 or 10 months since my arrest. We've never been able to be granted a continuance. And then, of course, yesterday, after we learned that President Trump was granted a continuance by the same courthouse, the same district court, Judge Chutkan, under the direction of Jack Smith, and of course with the approval of Merrick Garland. And so basically copying the language of that, because it's exactly the same thing. It's a January 6th trial. My attorneys put together a motion last night. It was filed by mid-afternoon today. The government had already issued their opposition. I can't believe they're working on a holiday. And then minutes later, Judge Cooper denied our motion to continue until after the inauguration. So that's been denied. So as a result of that, I will be in court at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, and then we're not going to give them the satisfaction of a trial.
You're not. So what does that mean, Steve?
Well, it means this. Because of what happened last Wednesday on that call, because of the absolute, look, throughout this entire process, I'm not going to say that Cooper has either been fair or unfair, but I will tell you that he has been incredibly one-sided in his rulings and all of the motions that we've put out. He has also taken direction from some of the pretrial service officers out there that have actually lied to him about the background on my case. And he's taken them at their word and has issued orders against me, chastising me in public as a result of that on verifiable, provable lies. And then in addition to that, I don't think that he has really looked close enough at my case, expecting that we were going to go to trial, that he would just save it until then, that he could fairly make proper judgments on some of these motions that we have issued. The most important one, of course, was the motion to dismiss based on selective prosecution. And there's been many iterations of that has happened over the last several months. He finally denied the very last one, the motion to reconsider a previous dismissal that included the discovery demand that we requested from the government to tell us why they did not charge that 80 to 100 other journalists. Now, we're not talking about, major media journalists only with credentials hanging off of their neck. We're talking about bloggers. We're talking about social media influencers. We're talking about podcasters, people that had a much, much smaller following than I had at the time that I went to the Capitol as an independent journalist. I had tens of thousands of followers, and we've documented people that had hundreds on the day of the Capitol riots. And yet they were never charged for breaking the law. Because look, we all know that if you entered a restricted space without permission of law enforcement, it doesn't matter if you have a New York Times badge on or if you're a blogger or you're me. That was a law that was broken. So what the government has done is selectively decided to prosecute a very small handful of journalists, and guess what our political leanings are? A little bit to the right of center.
Right.
And that's the only ones that have been charged, and they've ignored it. And they've now denied me the right to understand through discovery why that 80 to 100 other journalists have not been charged. And as a result of that, I told my attorneys after the pretrial hearing on Wednesday, we got on a Zoom call, and I said, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm not going to put myself through what is nothing more than what one of my attorneys called a shaming exercise, because, Sarah, it's a 100% conviction rate. It's 99.75% overall, 100% before a jury. And this judge, I don't think he's ever acquitted anybody. So I said, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to walk into the court tomorrow morning, and this is the breaking news for you. You get it first. I am going to plead guilty to all 4 charges. I'm going to preserve my right to appeal, and I'm rolling the dice that President Trump is going to honor his campaign promise and make this all go away before my sentencing hearing in February.
Okay, so the sentencing hearing is February. That's what I wanted to know was, is there a chance that you have to serve time in between now and the time when Donald Trump gets inaugurated? And so my presumption, since you just said your sentencing hearing is in January, is no, in February is no. Is that correct?
To our knowledge, Judge Cooper has not remanded any misdemeanor defendant to custody after a guilty verdict by a bench trial, a jury trial, or a plea. Okay. So to our knowledge, he has not done that. The government and federal cases require at least 12 weeks after the guilty verdicts before a sentencing hearing is executed. So we're looking at, with the holidays, probably about 14 weeks, which will push us into February. And like I said, we're just waiting to see if Trump is going to come through for us.
Steve, I'm sick to my stomach hearing this. I get it. Okay. I understand. I understand why you have determined that you are going to do this. This is obviously just a humiliation ritual. Obviously, I would like to point out that the New York Times or the leftist media outlets who didn't, call Nancy Pelosi a bitch, which, by the way, is your First Amendment right to do so, they don't find themselves in the same situation. So the point, obviously, is if you speak out against the regime, you will be severely punished. And that is what the process that they want to put you through. And so I understand that you don't want to give them that satisfaction. It makes me sick to my stomach all the same, Steve. And I agree with you. I do think that Donald Trump is going to do something about this. It seems to me like he is. I mean, I spoke to him a couple years ago when he was, Stephen, where were we? We were at the
CPAC.
Thank you. It was at CPAC. And I asked him myself personally, I said, are you going to pardon the nonviolent January 6th political prisoners? And of course, he gave me a very Trumpian answer, but he certainly has indicated that he plans to do that. And you have to believe that that's going to be one of the first steps that he takes, because there are people who are already serving time. I mean, as much as you are having to go through, there are people who had to do this far earlier. They had to go through this humiliation ritual. We've got here a couple months ago, you being handcuffed, and they've had to go through this ritual as well and actually serve time. So, I mean, you have to believe that this is something that Donald Trump is going to take care of quickly. But I mean, if I'm you, that's just such a hard risk to take, knowing what the alternative is if he doesn't.
All indications are from all of our insiders inside the Trump camp is that this is going to happen. Now, what we don't know is going to happen if they're going to do a case-by-case review, starting with the nonviolent offenders, maybe starting with the journalists, or if he's going to do a blanket pardon, which of course will not be politically expedient. It will not be politically welcome even by Republicans. But I will tell you, let me tell you something. I've only been in favor since day one of pardons for nonviolent offenders and commutations of sentences, that sort of thing.
I agree.
And that's even nonviolent offenders like the Oath Keepers that have been charged, are given 18 years in prison for doing nothing other than having bad words come out of their mouth. Right. And so I've been in favor of that from day one. And then I had an epiphany on Wednesday at the sheer let's just say everything changed in that hearing last Wednesday. And now I am going to implore President Trump to issue a blanket pardon for all January 6ers. And here's why. This is what John Adams argued after the Boston Massacre, when he was defending those British soldiers falsely accused of murder. He implored the court and that jury and said it would be better if 10 guilty people go free than for one innocent man to be found guilty and suffer that punishment. And then he went further and he said, I'll even quote Lord Montesquieu. And he said, I would rather 20 guilty men go free than one innocent man be found guilty and locked up for crime he didn't commit. And because we don't know all of the circumstances of what people were influenced by that day, be it agents provocateur on the ground, be it federal officers, we don't know. You know that we're digging. We're looking for that. We're looking for those individuals that were working for somebody to lead people in to set that stage for what took place. And so I'm at the point now, let them all out. And that's what I'm going to be asking the president to do going forward.
Yeah, well, I will be joining you in any way that I can, drawing as much attention to this as we can. I have one last question for you, Steve, and then I'm going to let you go. You mentioned that this pretrial conference that you were on was last Wednesday. Did it feel at all at that point like this became personal because of the presidential election results?
I think probably Judge Cooper, being that he's a good friend with Merrick Garland. Merrick Garland was the officiant at his wedding. I think I probably told you that before.
Yeah.
And I think probably he wasn't in a good mood
Right.
On Wednesday, the day after the election. And I think I bore the brunt of that to a certain extent. But everything that he did was within the law. But
Sure.
he knows the reality of what's ahead. And he also could have taken the same tack that Judge Chutkan, Jack Smith, and Merrick Garland, Cooper's buddy, took. And they could have hit the pause button on my case and dozens of others that are caught in this nexus between the re-election of President Trump and his inauguration on January 20th. Hit the pause button. Let's see rather than wasting the American people's time.
Right.
There are real criminals out there that need to be standing before judges right now, not nonviolent misdemeanor defendants who walked in with a camera or walked in and took a selfie in the rotunda for 10 minutes and left.
Yeah. Steve, I'm so sorry for what you're having to go through. And I will be praying. I will be sending out smoke signals if I have to Donald Trump to make sure that they tackle this. And I am praying for a great outcome for you, my friend. Will you keep me posted?
You know I will, Sarah. Thank
All right.
you so much.
Thank you, Steve. We'll talk soon. See ya. Oh, gosh. Just hate this. Hey, Nancy, you're a bitch. He shouldn't have to go to prison because you guys are offended that he's exposing you. He shouldn't have to go to prison because the deep state doesn't like that he's exposing the deep state. Harry Dunn, all of the Capitol Police, it stinks up to the very top. One of the people who has been exposing that the most has, of course, been Steve Baker. Do you think that's a coincidence? No, of course it's not. They want to punish anyone who veers from the approved narrative. So please, everyone, share this. Tag Donald Trump, tag Donald Trump Jr., tag everyone who is within the administration, Vivek Ramaswamy, tag Elon Musk. Make sure that you tag all of the people involved in Donald Trump's sphere that you can think of. Make sure that you draw attention to this so that they can put a stop to it. We got it. And it's not just Steve. We've got to get these people out of prison. All right. Going to bring in the panel after this. First, we want to thank our sponsor this segment. This is Angel Studios' upcoming film Bonhoeffer. All right. This is the setup. OK. The world is just teetering on the brink of annihilation. All right. And Dietrich Bonhoeffer is swept into the epicenter of a deadly plot to assassinate Hitler in Angel Studios' new film. It's hitting theaters November 22nd. You can get showtimes right now at angel.com/Bonhoeffer. And this is, look, Bonhoeffer's got to choose between upholding moral convictions or risking it all to save millions of Jews from genocide. Will his shift from preaching peace to plotting murder alter the course of history or cost him everything? Find out this Thanksgiving. Make sure to go get your tickets today. Support the parallel economy by going to angel.com/Bonhoeffer. That is angel.com/Bonhoeffer. Or you can do angel.com/Sarah. All right, welcome to the show. We have Matthew Marsden, BlazeTV contributor and actor and producer extraordinaire, along with Jakub Bujans, BlazeTV contributor and founder of Jakub Bujans Ministries. Glad you guys are here.
Thank you.
Good to be here. I
hope that you're here with better, happier circumstances than my friend Steve Baker, who I just talked to, who's about to plead guilty.
Yeah.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He spoke to me probably almost a month ago and said that's probably the direction it's going to go. Yeah.
I hate that.
But do we know, have they told him yet what that means? I think it's a probation.
Well, so the sentencing trial would be in February.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but I hate to see that. So I think one of the stories that I saw as we were signing off for the weekend, but that I think probably intentionally was released on a Friday late, so that it would not gain traction, was what happened with FEMA. Because back in September, of course, Donald Trump, in the aftermath of Hurricane Helene, he announced that he was going to go help. He wanted to go deliver water, supplies, all of that, because there was not a lot being done on the ground. And so he posted on Truth Social at the time. He said that he was going to stop into North Carolina. It's been hit really hard. I have a lot of supplies ready for them, but access and communication is now restricted. And we want to make sure that local emergency management is able to focus on helping the people most affected and not being concerned with me. And then, of course, he said, I'll be there shortly, but don't like the reports that I'm getting about the federal government and the Democrat governor of the state going out of their way to not help people in Republican areas, MAGA. Now, so he's making the claim that they are going out of their way to not help Republicans, to not help potential Trump voters. The mainstream media was like, fact check. That's not true. Fact check. 6 days of Trump lies about the Hurricane Helene response from CNN Politics. They had New York Times, Trump's false claims about the federal response to Hurricane Helene. You have Vanity Fair. Trump spreads baseless conspiracy theory that Democrats are withholding hurricane aid in, quote, Republican areas of North Carolina. Oh, well, add this to Trump was right again because leaked text messages reveal the FEMA supervisor, Marnie Washington, was giving employees best practices, including avoid high salt diets, drink coconut water, and avoid homes advertising Trump. So there it is, right there. And whistleblowers reported that FEMA skipped at least 20 homes that had Trump signs or flags. FEMA workers were out logging their canvassing, and in some of the logs of the Trump homes, they wrote, Trump sign, no entry, per leadership.
Wow.
There it is, right there. So add that to the long list of things that Donald Trump says they spied on my campaign, right? All the things that he says happened, and everyone's like, actually, that's a conspiracy theory. He's a crackpot. He's fueling dangerous conspiracy theories. No, it just happens. You guys just keep doing it. And so now we have proof they were actually withholding aid, withholding support from people who were Trump supporters. Like, I read that this woman was removed from her job. Why is she not in jail? Yeah. Removed from job, great. Step 1. Step 2 is prosecute. That's criminal. And yet, what will happen, because you have, the head of FEMA, Deanne Criswell, who was only focusing on equity. That was their goals and objectives was equity, DEI, and then down below all of that, emergency management, which I feel like probably should be the top priority when your name is FEMA. That should probably be your top priority.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is all over now. They're done. They're done. The reckoning is coming. People understand now that they have the power. We've seen it with the popular vote. These people are finished, and there's no going back. Look, if we would have said this even 2 weeks ago, right, when we were still, I guess we are still under the Joe Biden presidency, which he
doesn't feel like it though, does it?
No, it doesn't at all. You can see everything. Well, it hasn't felt like
not really doing much.
He hasn't done anything in 2 years, but I genuinely feel that there is a change. And you can feel the optimism.
Yeah.
You can feel that they're not going to get away with this.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
I hope not.
No. And I think good times are ahead. I hope that every American sees this and understands what this means, because it means sometimes not giving life-saving aid to people. It means letting people die. Right? This is really, really serious. And it shows you how far these left-wing maniacs have gone. We know it, right? Because we see it all the time with the way that they deal with us. Right. But now, as Trump said, I am in between you and them. Well, guess what? He's in now. And here we go. So buckle up, bitches. We're coming for you.
And by the way, that's not because we're weaponizing the judicial system against you. You guys are just actually the criminals.
Criminals. They're criminals. That's the funny thing. When they turn around, by the way, Sarah, and just say this, when they turn around and go, oh, are you weaponizing to go after your political party? No, it's called holding people accountable when they break the law. Like, just because you're on the opposite side, You still, and by the way, I'm all for getting the people on our side that do it as well. Shock horror.
Sure.
We want the rule of law, right, Jaco? That's what we want.
1000%. You know, if you're in the middle of a crisis like a natural disaster, you pick winners and losers. You are basically the spawn of Satan. I mean, you are as evil as it gets. When people are, because they don't know these people. So a sign in the yard, they don't know them. They don't know their conditions. They don't know if someone's laying inside there with a medical condition. I just want us to pause for a second and understand. We say a lot of stuff, even here and on this network. We say a lot of things, and I think sometimes we need to go a little bit deeper. Honestly, the human condition is at stake here. There's more at stake in the American fabric than what we have discussed recently. It's not just politics. And I'll say this, I've got still a very high level of concern. I understand everybody's doing a victory lap, and I'm very, 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 very happy Donald Trump's in the White House, and he's going to be in the White House, right? Very happy. Keep him alive, get him in the White House, right? But it doesn't just fix itself. This doesn't autocorrect, because I know the bureaucratic system. He's going to have to get an attorney general with balls. I'm talking about tungsten balls that will go take a Christopher Wray and call him in front of a judiciary and charge him and charge an Anthony Fauci and make examples out of people that have killed people with a stroke of the pen, right? Or pass by that house. Yes, people have died. You know, you just had the future border czar talking about what happens on the border. I brought you a little gift, right? To prove something to your viewers. He has to have support. And my concern historically with America, I'm just telling you, is cruise control. Trump's going to do it. There's a fight in the local community that is going to get hellaciously vicious, because whether you like it or not, 46 million absolute brain skull numbing people still voted for Kamala. They still live among us. It's not like it was, 55-45 is not a big, it's big in politics, but it's not huge if we share water in a cup, right? There's still a whole lot of people that live among us that want your children to be raped, that want your children to be sold, that want to dance half naked for kids. They don't just disappear. We're still going to fight on our hands locally. And to prosecute, we're going to need an attorney general. And there's shenanigans in the Senate. And there's a chance maybe to get Ken Paxton in there to get him confirmed through a Senate who will prosecute.
Yeah. Your lips to God's ears, my friend. All right, let's go ahead. We got to take a quick break, and then you said you have a gift for me, and I want to know what it is. So let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Gift.
All right, what's up? What's in the...
Okay, so I used the word balls. I love it. This is not a gift. I can't give back.
Okay.
But Fox News wouldn't do this. Nobody had the kahunas to show this thing. What I'm showing you now, listen to me, is literally, this is a slave trade ledger we took from a trafficker on the border, okay, from a coyote.
Wow.
This is a slave trade ledger with the names of children. This is the coyote's name. He's got names of children in here. How much they owe him? $15,000 for this child to sell them for sex. Her name is Carissa Tina. Here's Layota owes him $4,000. He's got 7 children her age, $80 to $800. It's a slave trade ledger we took from a coyote on the border. Pages of what they've paid him. $495. They owe him $8,000. Ariel is this coyote's name. This is what's happening. This is a modern day slave trade ledger on the hands of Kamala Harris. It's all names of children being sold. This kid's paid $56 so far, owes $8,500 to the cartel. And they pay by giving sex. This is literally in your hands. You can't, and we took this from a trafficker.
Tell me you kicked the shit out of him while you were doing it.
Yeah, no, he's not, his face is rearranged.
That's an off-air conversation.
But there it is. You want to know.
We can change that.
That is why you closed the border.
Yeah.
This thing. Fox wouldn't show this, by the way. Fox wouldn't show this. Iran, nobody would even. I said, listen, come, let's do interviews. We interviewed the guys. We interviewed the women that came across that said, hey, I paid $56. They charged me a 30% interest on $8,500. She's in debt for the rest of her life. They told her, we can sell you, but we'd rather sell your children for sex. This is it. A literally modern day slave trade ledger. This, by the thousands, this happens on the border.
And it ends in January.
Yes.
So that's incredible. I am not excited, maybe is the wrong word, but I'm just so hopeful now that this is going to end. That ends, okay? That's done. And one of the pieces of that I want to get to before we have to go is you're talking about Ken Paxton as AG. We've got Tom Homan coming in as border czar. And so we've got all of these pieces that need to fit together. Well, of course, one thing that may stop that is who becomes Senate Majority Leader with Mitch McConnell leaving. And so now the conversation within Capitol Hill, you had an internal poll taken. You've got Cornyn, Rick Scott from Florida, and John Thune, who are all kind of throwing their hat in the ring. And I got to tell you guys, we are in big trouble because Rick Scott, who is the most conservative one on the list, has the least amount of votes. This is from Benny Johnson. He had an internal source that leaked the internal votes. They have Cornyn at 18, Thune at 24, and Rick Scott at 11. Guys, we are sitting here in Texas right now. I don't claim John Cornyn. He sucks.
No.
He sucks.
Slime.
We cannot have John Cornyn. And by the way, if you want a United States Attorney General Ken Paxton confirmed by the Senate, you can't have John Cornyn.
Absolutely.
He hates Ken Paxton.
Yeah, Ken will
He hates Donald Trump.
Thank you.
He'll stab Trump in the back.
Yes, he will.
Listen, you think McConnell was bad, and he is a Nancy Pelosi, let's go hold hands and go to the movies. Cornyn is over the top. Yeah. This is a play against Donald Trump.
It is.
100%. This is a play against Donald Trump. This is a play for the left. Cornyn is slime.
Mm-hmm. Do you know what I read? That there was someone who was like, oh, senators are saying they don't take kindly to social media trolls harassing them. Social media trolls, we, the people, are your constituents. You need to listen to us. Do you see what happened the last time we had an administration? We had people who didn't listen to us. You work for us, not the other way around. These are not social media trolls. These are voters.
Yeah, times have changed. You just said your Instagram went through the roof. My YouTube channel went through the roof this weekend. People have had enough. They understand the people who have their backs. You guys, we've said it over and over and over again. Get involved. You did it. We got Trump elected. Do not take your foot off the gas.
Please, this is what I just
going.
said. Yes. You can't just assume now it's going to happen. They're playing. There's always Tim Scott. There's always plays happening. Cornyn, Thune. I mean, pick up. It's poison. Either one of them is poison.
Liberty scores. John Thune, I think 51. John Cornyn 54%.
Yeah, hello. Do you want leading your party? Leading?
Absolutely not.
I mean,
say no.
Come on.
Call your senators. Let them know. And we will thank you guys. We'll see you tomorrow.